Hey everyone, this is Chef. Welcome back to Planet Zoo in Empirical Sahara, our arid African desert themed zoo. Today we are putting the final touches on our Horn of Africa section. We're going to do a little bit of detailing. We're going to add a few more restroom facilities over at this new oasis, and we're going to finish up the decorative back wall of the Egyptian fruit bat exhibit, and then we're going to be moving on to the next section of the zoo. Grab a drink, grab a snack. This is probably going to be a bit of a longer one. I'm aiming for something like 2.5 hours. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to be breaking this up into 4 sections. We're going to do a little bit of decorating along the path over here that leads back to the hoofed Horn of Africa animals. We need to clean up this plaza, this little rest stop slash food court back here, because there's really not a lot going on back there right now. Then we're going to head down our little simulation of the Nile River, get a bunch of reeds and things in like that, get a couple viewing areas in here along the Caracal Ravine, add some decoration and structure to that building as well. And then we're going to wind off down here, putting in a couple bathrooms at the back of this rest stop, and cleaning up the back wall of the Egyptian fruit bat habitat. So that's a lot to get through. I'm going to try and work quickly, but also effectively, and we'll see how far we manage to get. So starting over here, the way that we did the section in the arid Sahara section of the zoo is we had a full rock wall. I don't want to do the same thing. I want this to feel more distinct, and given that it comes back to an area that really has very little rock work going on, I think it would be more appropriate to do a line of small rocks, and then we might build out a couple little outcrops that we can decorate with some plants and things like that. So I think the way that I want to handle that is we go ahead and grab our African desert themed rocks is I want to pick something that's reasonably large, maybe like this. Do a random rotation all. And I just want to outline the back of where this is going to go. So we're going to drag these along something like this, and I want to see what kind of structure that gives us. You know, I may not actually want random rotation all here. I might just want random rotation. No, I can do random rotation all, and I'll just set this to be on the world grid. And then that'll be fine. We'll have to adjust height manually a couple places, but that's okay. So a little something like this. I want a lot of the sand to be poking out. I don't want it to feel as rocky as it did in the arid Sahara section. I think this is... yeah, I'm feeling that so far. I think that's about what I had envisioned in my head. We'll have a couple bigger rocks that stick out like that. There's like the centerpiece rocks, and then through the middle, we'll just have a few smaller ones. And we're just going to run these all the way along. Also, let's keep time running here, because we've got a lot of research to get through as well. And just general zoo management tasks. Panic Fox is at offspring. Good. We did do a ton. I'm gonna start doing animal management in like July, I think, just to make sure that we can actually keep things in the zoo running. You're a little big. No real rhyme or reason for this kind of stuff here. We're just gonna come straight through. And you can barely see that one, but we're flush with cash, so. We might add a couple of sunshades to these benches. We'll see. I just want to get this general structure of rocks in first. Definitely don't need you that big. Vet research is done. Take a look at that in just a second, because we're almost there. Let's see if we can get these to taper down a little bit, because the sand edge over there does get kind of steep, and in fact I may want to try and deal with that. I think I do want to deal with that. This doesn't look quite right. Let's grab terrain sculpting. Let's turn the size up and turn the intensity down a little bit, and just push this dune back. And then here we can pull it up, and then we'll just smooth along here. This can get pushed back a little bit. This can get pushed back a lot. And then for smoothing, we can crank the intensity up a bit. There we go. That's a bit better. I just didn't want such a severe angle over there. So we'll do a little something like this. We can have this start to get a little rockier. And then give me one that's slightly smaller. Maybe even smaller than that. And we're going to use this to fill in some of the gaps and spaces that are along these rocks. We're not going to have one continuous unbroken chain of rocks. We're going to leave some space in to put plants and things like that. But I do want it to look like there's a bit of a transition between this sand dune that's behind it and where this actual section of the zoo sits. I think I like that so far. I'm not positive, but I think I like it. Definitely get a little bit in here because all these rocks are so big. Right. So a little something like that. And then we're gonna grab, well, let's check our research first. Let's get this out of the way. We also got a reward for, ooh, striped hyena's done. Lovely. What did you guys get? Toys? You did get a toy. What is the toy? I don't recognize anything new. Did you guys get anything new? Doesn't look like it now. And then also the baboons were the other research that we completed. Did you guys get anything new? You did. A suspended forager. Okay. We're gonna have to find room for this in here now as well. That shouldn't be that bad to put like here. I don't want to put you... fine, I'll put you here. And then we'll just select you and we'll split you out of the group. Because I don't want you to be part of this group. You should not be inaccessible. You are inaccessible. No, there you go. And then we're going to need to reallocate some of our research. So we still need to do Egyptian fruit bat and red fox. Elena, let's get you on the Egyptian fruit bat, and then once the Hamadryas baboon and standard donkey are left, then we'll actually be able to start working through some diseases, which will be really nice. Since this is a franchise zoo, those are actually going to carry over to other zoos that we have. We get a free $2,000 for getting to 4-star fame. And then we'll start putting in our good friend Nitraria. So we're not doing any random rotation on these. We're going to start with the big one. Actually, we will do random rotation, but not random rotation all. We're going to start with the big one, and we're going to mostly hide this inside the rocks themselves. Much like the rocks, this is not going to be one continuous, unbroken chain of plants. We're just going to scatter them in some places, and then leave it bare in other places. We don't want this entire wall to look like it's the same thing. We want it to look a little varied. Grab some here, a little bit here. Have a little poke at the top here. So we'll do a bit of this. We'll go through again with the dead Nitraria. I think that'll add a bit of visual interest. And then we'll just have a bunch of Drin grass in the front and above it. And that should make this look, should make it look pretty good. So let's come through with dry. And we'll put something here at the end to kind of demarcate the fact that there's a new section of the zoo starting. That might be an opportune place to put like a couple big trees or something like that. And these dead Nitraria, I want to place more or less on top of the live Nitraria, so that it looks like there's a little bit of just dead brush in the same spaces. Let's slide you over instead of up. And I do think later on, I haven't had the time this week, I've been kind of busy this week. But later on, off camera, I am going to come through here and add curb to this side of the path as well. Just grab, you know, this guy and pull him over here. Alright, so that's all the Nitraria in with the dead brush. Let's grab a couple larger trees. Put them over here, because this is kind of our oasis section, so it's okay for this to be a little more verdant. How do you feel about a salt cedar at the end of it? Nah, it's just a little too big. I'll settle for a quiver tree. A quiver tree isn't too domineering. And then maybe something really small in the front. Date palm, little too green. Century plant? You know what? A century plant would be great, and we haven't used very many of them in the zoo. Let's actually get a few century plants in here. Not many. So I don't actually want this to look overgrown. Century. Yeah, there we go. We don't want this to look overgrown. We just want it to have a few interesting plants in it. Maybe try and focus them around benches when we can, so that it looks like people have interesting places to sit down for a bit. These I'm going to try and wedge in little rock corners. A little something like that. And then just one more over here. And then finally, get a bunch of green grass in here. We'll leave a little bit of space so that we can come through with green drin grass as well, but I think we want yellow drin grass to be the dominant color here. This is, after all, just supposed to be a backdrop. Can also let it run for a bit here, now that we finished reallocating our research. And then in these open spaces that we left between rocks, where we also didn't put very much nitraria, I think that's probably an optimal place to fill with a bunch of green grass. So get a little bit of that over here. A little bit in front here. I hear one of the Somali wild asses going nuts on the piano over there. I'm glad he's having a nice time. Vet research is done. We'll be over there shortly. Inspector has arrived. That's fine. We have an animal talk running as well. And then we'll come around this corner. And we find ourselves in the Horn of Africa food court. Alright, let's take a look at what research we got. Standard donkey. What you got for me? Anything new? In theory, you may have gotten a new toy. In practice, you have not gotten anything new. So it's something we discovered for another animal that you are also able to use. And then the last thing we want to add in here is our green drin grass. Very small amounts of this. We're not going to go crazy with it at all. Very, very small amounts. And when we can, intermix it with the yellowing grass. Just give it a bit of extra color, a bit of extra vibrancy. We'll also make it a little taller when we can. All right, and then last thing we want to do here is clean up this terrain. Get all of this to be sand along the path. God, I hate how sharp that edge is. We definitely need a curve in here. But I'm not going to subject you guys to that. It takes an eternity to do. Then we're going to go down to like intensity 20. We're going to run soil along this. So still mostly sand. A little bit of soil. Get it to blend together a bit. And then up here on top, paint a little bit of rock in. Down here at the bottom, paint a little bit of rock in. We just want to mix up the terrain a little bit here so it doesn't look so uniform. That's why we're running with like intensity 20%. We don't want it to immediately erase all of the other terrain painting that we've done here. We just want it to look a little different. Little something like that. Might even go through here and take some coarse sand where it's closer to the rock. I'm actually liking that a lot. Oh, I'm really liking that. As long as we can keep it away from being directly adjacent to the path. It looks like there's sand that's like leaking out from through this rock wall. I'm very into that. Yeah. So, like, much more understated than what we've got over here. But I think that's more appropriate for this section of the zoo. Horn of Africa is a bit flatter. There's a bit less rock work, at least in this section. You know, when you get over to, like, the baboons and the caracals, it's obviously very rocky. But at least in this section, there's not a lot of it. Then, oh, somebody broke that bench. How rude. How do we feel about this? Is this too chunky for how flat it is over here? Initially, it looks like yes. Yeah, the tusks are just way too chunky. So instead, we're going to grab this style of sunshade. We're going to see how you look. You look better. Pretty substantially better. And the beams in the back actually, like, connect the way they're supposed to, although these look super unsupported. Do they? Maybe they look fine, actually. So we'll have one here. We'll have one back over here. Just a tiny turn. Something like that. Something like this. We're gonna move that that garbage can just a little bit so that it's not right in front of a post. We'll stick you like over there. And then you have one more set of benches. I really like that the way that we've done this rock wall. It just looks like organically these are connecting into the rock in most places without really having to do that much planning around it, which is nice. And then I also like that there's just like negative space. I think it can be easy to fall into a trap of feeling like there has to be things everywhere. But it's not true. Sometimes it's okay to have negative spaces. Like over here, it's fine to have that be a little bit of negative space. This, however, this is not fine to be negative space. This I want to be like a focal point of the zoo. Not a big one, but I do want it to be like a point of interest, because this is where you're moving out of the arid Sahara section of the zoo and you're moving into the Horn of Africa. So we're going to put curb in here. It's not going to take that long. But we are going to do a little bit of decoration here. And we're going to put in some signage and things like that. We haven't really used this kind of fortress brick pattern since we worked in Horn of Africa, or in Arid Sahara. So I think it makes sense to bring it back a bit. So we'll get something in like that. Rotate you to line you up with this new path. Something like this. Should be pretty good. And then we'll start pulling you over here. This is exactly why we didn't want to have too many animals viewable from this section of the zoo, because this is a very high traffic area. And we want as few people as possible stopping to gawk and look at animals at this point. We'd like them to just get to their next exhibit destination and then stand there for a bit. You here. And then we just have one more to do. Give you a tiny little twist. I'm out here a bit so I can see how well you're lined up. Should be pretty good. And then we'll get you flush with that block. Good. And then we'll pull you over to the end. And then we'll just hope that these join up smoothly. And if they don't, we'll shift some things around to get them to. Yeah, I'm inclined to say that's good enough. All right, so what do we want to go here? We want signage to go here, first of all. Sign. How do you look when we write on you? Is my question. So if I put you here and then I say this is Horn of Africa. Not great, but maybe I can change the font. Okay. No, definitely not. Maybe. Also, I think you're going to look like this. Oh, I can't put line breaks in. Oh, that sucks. We're not going to use that sign then. We need to find a better sign. That? Well, maybe it's not too small. Are you too small? Let's find out. Horn of Africa. And then we rotate you. It just feels a little small, is the thing. But it's better. Boogaloo is impossible to read. Poppins isn't bad. Verdoka isn't bad. I actually think I might like Carter. So text body. Hate it so far. Still hate it. Yeah, that's not going to be great. I don't love it, and it's small. Alright, so if we're not going to use a sign, an editable sign, unless there's other editable signs down here and I'm just not familiar with them. No, those are really your only options. What tags do you have? Editable text. Let's try that. Ah, okay, so we do have more options. Definitely not memorial plaque. How do you look? Definitely not you. If it's anyone, it's going to be you. No. No, no, no. You might just want to keep using this thing then, because it is huge. And that's cool, and it has a lot of color channels, if I remember correctly. So you would go here, and you would say, Horn of Africa. Yeah, I mean, that's just a cool sign, man. That's just a really cool sign. Let's change you to like a nice yellow. Give you a bit of an orange outline, and then we can change the color on this actual thing. Get that to be a bit lighter so it pops better. And then this is leading into the hyenas, which we're using the Somalian flag colors for. So blue and white is going to work pretty well here. And then it also contrasts against these signs, which are like orange and yellow. That's too much blue. I actually kind of like it being black. And then we're also going to move you a little bit. We're going to have you sit right here, so that when you're coming from this way, you can see that it says Horn of Africa. When you're coming from this way, you can see that it says Horn of Africa. And then do we have like an arrow that we can put on top of it? Kind of. How do we feel about this? Don't love it. Maybe don't hate it. Do I hate it? I think we need to change these colors around a bit. What if we made you blue? And then we made the trim black. And then we just need something to support the arrow as well. Like beam? Sunshade beam? No, what about just like a round beam? You might need round beam thin. Yeah. Something like that. Do you like that? I think for now it's okay. We also need to change the color of this beam. We want this beam to also be black, so it looks like it's part of the arrow. Yeah, I mean, it's fine, I guess. And then what are these things? African wall decoration. Right, so let's go pop into theme, African. See if we can find a couple decorations to put around this thing. I don't think I want to do like bead art or bracelet shape or anything like that. That just looks like a garbage can. Hanging cloth, probably not. Hut bases, probably not. Pots, probably not. Maybe you just want to do like more tusks. Maybe. How do you feel about just having them like stick out of the ground? Does that look like anything? No, it just looks weird. I don't think you've themed enough for something like that to be good. This may just end up being plants. We might just do a garden here. Actually, let's do some drain grass first. This we're fine being very green and verdant. This would be a more manicured section. Definitely do not angle snap me here. So a little something like that. And then at the corners, you've got like some king protea. Maybe an aloe vera plant. And then like a small king protea. Do you like that? I do, but I can't get the thought of the claw decorations out of my mind. What about this? let's just play with a shape here quick. You have a nice small one. Yeah, these are all a little too big. I think it's basically only this one. So what if you take one of these, you turn random rotation off, and then you grab rope. Maybe 2-meter rope. This you want angle snap on for. Why am I editing group 1203? Probably shouldn't be doing that. Be careful with your grouping so that you're not just putting things in random places. You need to get it inside of that to maintain this illusion. Like, that's pretty good. So merge this into a group. Yeah, see, now you've done it. You grouped all of that stuff together. Oh, that's a disaster. I think you need to select everything here. You're gonna need to split all these groups. Yeah. Split all this and then remake this group. Alright, you guys are a group now. And then you should no longer be part of any group. So I can merge you into a group. And now I can advance move you around. So we're going to start all the way over here. And we'll still put curb in eventually. I just want something that's a little more structured for this section. We knew that the grouping wasn't going to work because we rotated the heck out of everything. So we're going to have to do a little bit of manual lining up here. But that's okay. I just think this will add a little bit of extra, like, pop to this corner. So we want this corner to look nice. It's the transition between two separate parts of the zoo. We want it to feel like it has a sense of place. The path kind of curves there, huh? Yeah, you probably want to walk this back a little bit. And then you can straighten it out a little. Let time run for a bit while you do this. Line that up fairly well, and then here we give it a nice big turn. Do not need angles now. Maybe a little something like that. And then around here. And we're only going to run this to that bench. That's as far as this is going to go. It's not going to be a thing we carry all the way down to the Horn of Africa food court. It's just going to be something that we do for this corner. That's more toy enrichment and food enrichment for the Hamadryas baboons. Let's go make sure they don't actually get anything new. Oh, we finally... Oh, I love the way this arboreal feeder looks when they actually use it. What a neat place to watch the baboons from. Like, they're giving an animal talk here, and then they're eating in the back. I love that. I really love how this baboon exhibit turned out. You guys have anything new in here? Nothing new that I can see. but you do still have one more level of research. We'll get back to work on this. We found an award for something. We'll check that in a second. You're going to need to start giving it a very gradual turn here. And then again, ever so slightly. And you're almost there. And then this should terminate right about here with this claw. Grab you, slide you over to here. I think I like that. It definitely makes this portion of the zoo feel more complete. Like this now feels like a transition between areas, and I like that. It doesn't bode well that we're at 48 minutes, and I've only done one small section of what I wanted to get done today. This is very likely going to be a two-part video, just because of the scale of the Horn of Africa section, but we'll keep chipping at it. We'll see how much we can get done. It's an extra 2,500 bucks for having no crime. All right, let's tackle a building, shall we? I think I wouldn't mind continuing with the like rope and fence motif back here. We kind of have this very light, open, airy section of the zoo here for the donkeys, and I'd like this to feel similarly open. Maybe get it to feel a little bit like a paddock or something like that. But first, let's get a basic framework in for these buildings. Let's make you a group. You are in a group. Okay, let's edit the group. And let's add in just a basic frame. We'll give it a little bit of dimension. Make it feel a little bigger than it actually is. I also just kind of think it's neat if it comes out into the river a little bit. Make sure that that foundation goes all the way down. There you go. And then how do you want to handle the front of it? Do you want to do the whole thing in mud? I don't think I want to do the whole thing in mud. But maybe I do. We haven't really built any... No, you know what? This does match. This matches nicely with the Somali wild ass section back there. So I do think I'm going to do that. I want the gridded piece for this, though. But I don't want the mural to continue. Or do you? No, you don't. So put these in. And then you're also going to need 1 meter. And then how do you want the roof to work? I think you're going to want a gable, which means bringing this up by 1, and then bringing this up a little bit. But let's do that in plaster rather than mud. That way we get the roof to look a little different from the rest of the building. So you would do this, and you would do this. We can clean up that gap with a bit of trim, and that'll look fine. And then we'll just need a roof. How do you feel about an asphalt roof back here? Okay, but everywhere else you've done corrugated plastic. Is this a place where you could do a thatch roof? If you did a thatch roof, you could actually ignore that gable completely. Hold on. This might be the place for a thatch roof. That join is likely to be a little weird. Yeah, that's a weird join. So you'd have to figure out how to work that. Trim maybe? Or an eave maybe? So if you put it in there and then you go 1 meter eave. Oh, thatch doesn't have a 1 meter eave. It only has a 2 meter eave. Well, that's a little weird. I just don't think this is the place for thatch. Roof dormer's not going to work. Roof panel's not going to work. Ridge decoration's not going to work. Yeah, it just doesn't get... Maybe I don't get thatch, but... I don't know. I've never felt like I can get that roof to work. So let's just go with corrugated plastic then, because we know how corrugated plastic works. Corrugated plastic double pitch. 1 meter wall. Or 1 meter roof, 1 meter roof. I guess we'll stick an eave on the back of this thing to get it to look a little less weird. Do you like that? Not particularly. But I think it's okay. I think it'll look better when you get some trim in. Yeah, probably. Alright, it's gonna be wood beam. Beam square painted. Yeah, beam square painted is going to do exactly what we want it to do here. We want to connect it to this group. We want to bring it over here so it masks this transition. Can I just have 8 meter? For simplicity. You're thinking, what if you make this building even more irregular? No, this is fine. We can work with this. Ooh, actually, what if we did this? Duplicate you. What if we pull you out to, like, here? And then what are you going to use to roof that? Flat roof? Yeah, you could flat roof. Corrugated roof, 1 meter flat. And then what are you going to put there? I don't really know. But it does make this shape kind of funky. And then we'll delete that so it makes that wall not try to curl around itself. Now, take me to beam. Beam square painted 8 meters. Spin you up to here. Spin you around to this corner. I'm still going to use the wood beams to mask the roof join. Actually, maybe you can use round beams for that. A little something like that. Yeah, maybe. Let's change your color now so we don't have to later. I'd like this to be maybe like a nice sandy blonde wood color. Pull another one over here. And then you'll want to put more of them between each shop. And these, I think, could be square. To demarcate the shops themselves. So one here. One here. One here. And then do you want to go back to round for the corner? No, I'll keep them square over here. And get another one over here. You can raise that one up a bit so it actually joins with the roof. Stick one over here. These are just going to be attachment points for the roof trim that is going to separate the plaster from the mud. And then how do you want to do that roof trim? Hey, this I like. This is neat. I do want to put in a sign that shows that there are facilities here. And I like the way this one came out, so I'm just going to borrow it. I can't believe I didn't turn this into a group. Come on, select it. I know you're in there. Really? How about from the back? How about as a multi-select? There we go. All right. Make that a group. Duplicate it. Bring it over here. Give it a little bit of a spin so that it's visible for people who are walking up. Great. And then these, I think, should get awnings. They're not called awnings. What are they called? Canopy? Yeah, they're called canopies, apparently. So you and you, as a gulpy, can have that style. I guess all four of you can have this style, but I'm going to move the Chief Beef ones up a little bit just so they're not so uniform. And then we'll move the Gulpy one down a little bit so they're not so uniform. And then we'll change the colors of them as well. Gulpy can have this kind of... A light color isn't going to do great. You can have this sort of darker teal. And then the Chief Beef can have sort of like a darker orange to it. Then, let's also change the paint scheme of this whole building, because I don't want the earthen color for the mud wall. Change that to something more like... yeah, like a sandy plaster kind of color. And then can I change the color of you? I can. Let's make you a bit of a darker orange. Oh, we can change the color behind it too. Let's grab the same color as the wall and then make it ever so slightly darker. Yeah. And then over here, we'll put in a few small Chief Beef signs. That's too big. So this is going to be their indication that, like, this is the shop building. I really wish there was, like, a really small Chief Beef logo. I would love to have this sign at, like, half size. Because then I could put it, like, right here. You know what? Maybe that's actually not too big. And then if we move the chief down a little bit to like here, and then we go gulpy. And then we grab the gulpy sign. Actually, just grab it off the Chief Beef sign. Then you don't have to worry about matching the height 1-to-1. It's a little hidden by the awning, but, you know, that's the way it goes. Do you like how that looks? I think it's okay. The base of the building is definitely a little naked, and we should probably clean that up. I also think over here is a great opportunity for an ATM, which would be under facilities, not under construction. But this is a nice little tucked away spot to get an ATM in. We can also have a sunshade that hangs off of that. The specific sunshade we would want to use is this one. Oh, you've never saved that as its own blueprint, huh? Okay, so you can go like... Well, no. Really, you've never saved just that part of the sunshade. I find that hard to believe. Because that's the... Yeah, you have. Okay, here you go. Duplicate this guy. Because that's the shape that I want. And then you're going to come off of this building. There's a little bit of shade that people can use the ATM in. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that the little bronze hooks kind of stick out of the wall. I think that's fun. And then we've got one spot for an ATM. We do need to add that to our work zone, though. That is going to be Horn of Africa guest services for sure. Okay. Then we need to make the same frame for the bathroom. You're going to need to put it on a separate grid, though. One wall. Select the group. One wall. Wait, really? Select group. Oh, right. Select group, edit a group, and then you can grab your mud wall. There you go. There you go. So this is going to be dead easy. Maybe you want it to come back a little further. Again, just kind of give the illusion of depth. Even though a bathroom's not that big, we can make it look like it's a little bit more substantial. And then you will want... not large window, but mud wall arch is also not quite correct either. Well, maybe it is. Yeah, maybe that's fine. And then grab plaster. Now, change the color first. Change the color so that it matches. Grab you. Mud wall paint is CBB 9A0. So select all of this. Change color to CBB 9A0. And then for the mud wall decoration itself, maybe I don't like that. Maybe I do just want it to be the same color as the paint. Yeah, I think I like that more. DD 7816. Something like that. And then give me mud lore. Set me at grid height 0. Put it here and here. Split these from the group and then advanced move them so they're just barely above the tile floor of the bathroom. Much better. And then if you really wanted to, how bad do you want to do this? Because if you really wanted to, you could make this whole thing look like a tunnel. Oh, let's try it. And if it doesn't look good, we can just delete it. I just think that the bathroom looks very unnatural when you're using the mud arch. And there's no square mud arch entrance unless you use the large window, but then you have to sink it into the ground. It just doesn't look right. I'd say that's pretty good. It looks a little funky, but I think I might be willing to tolerate it. The middle walls, whatever, that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. And then we go construction, plaster, put it in the group. One here, one here. One here, one here. And then we get our corrugated plastic roof. You go here and here. You go here and here. And then I want my roof ridge. You go there and there. You already have a roof ridge built in automatically, so that's fine. I really don't like that it's flickering all the time. Maybe I do need to get rid of this. Are you going to be able to select that? Yes. Actually, like, very easily. Except I think you deleted the floor as well. You're also now going to have a hell of a time getting it to... Ah, never mind. You got to reconnect to the path. There you go. So I guess in this case, we're going to have to use the mud window. I'm not missing a square arch somewhere here, am I? No. The only option that you have is the mud wall arch. So instead, we're going to need to go like this. Enter group edit mode. Large window, here, here. Change the color. Then split this from the group. Shift it down ever so slightly until it goes to about here. Then enter group edit mode again. Grab your mud wall floor. You're going to need it to be even lower. So actually select this group. Edit the group. Grab these floors, split them from the group. Drop them down to about there. Maybe a little higher than that. I can't believe I selected that. It's very lucky. Bump it up to here, so it just barely covers the front. Then you're going to need to add in a few beams at the top. Beam square. 4 meters should do fine. Bring it up to about here. And you're just going to add in these beams to fill the gap. So you'll have one here. And here. And then you can just slide these straight up. Maybe bring them forwards just a little bit to hide that bit of metal at the front. Something like that. And then duplicate you. Grab the 8 meter instead. Switch to angle snap. And you're going to run these down the side. So it looks like it has a little bit of wood framing. But A, that's going to match it with the rest of the food court. And B, it's going to do a really nice job of obfuscating some of the rough edges that we have on this building because of how we've had to make it. Give me like a... Yeah, that's fine. So that looks a bit better. Over here, we're going to do a very similar thing. You're going to be a 4 meter beam. Bump you up here to hide most of the metal elements of the roof. Most of them. Probably not all of them. Well, we'll see. You could have a big, chunky piece of wood that runs all the way around the top. But I'm not sure that's really what you're looking for. Let's try this to start and see how it goes. Maybe make this a darker piece of wood as well for some nice contrast. Yeah. And then we can duplicate you, and we're going to swing you all the way around this building. This is going to be your show. You're going to help us hide all of these ugly corrugated roof edges. About here. Overshooting it by a little bit is okay. This is not going to be angle snap. Because we need it to come upwards. Right about like that. Make sure that joint is nice and clean. Looks even on that side. Push you a little further up. And then we're going to have another one. This is going to need to be a 2 meter piece. Have you join in there. Up to about there. And now we can angle snap you to have you come down the other side. No, you cannot. Not a multiple of 15, apparently. Well, in that case, just grab these 3 and pull them over to here, because you know they'll line up on that side. Probably. How do you come up? Oh, because there's another one. Yeah, you missed one of them. That's fine. That's okay. Just tuck it into position like that. But then if you grab it like this and you duplicate and you rotate, that should get it into the position that you want it to be in. To mirror on the other side of this. Yeah. There you go. And then this one just needs to come down a little bit. To about there. You can tuck this beam in a little bit. But it matches there. And then grab this guy. Duplicate it over. Grab this whole roof frame and pull it out a little more. Like that. Now you can grab this part and you can just slide it straight over here. Make sure it lines up on this side. Mostly. Pull it way past and then grab this one until it just barely pokes through. And then slide this one back until it just barely pokes through. And that's your perfect join. And then we'll just grab you. Pull you to the back of this flat wall. Slide you around a little bit until you match with this edge piece. And then we just pull you all the way along. Go about there. And then the last piece we should need to do is you pull to here. And then tuck it in just a little bit so it doesn't clip the eave. You're gonna need a 2-meter piece for that. You wait there. Now you can come up through here. And you're just going to go to the eave. We'll leave the eave as a bit of an overhang. Now, for the join between the plaster and the mud wall, we should just be able to run one of these. Slide in there nice and flush. Get it to slide over here nice and flush. And then I think for these ugly little bits of beam, let's try this. You would need 2 beams. I don't want to do that. I think we might just leave those visible and accept the fact that it's not going to be perfect. So that looks kind of cozy. It's not quite as airy as I wanted it to be. It looks like a pretty imposing building, but it'll make do. Can we get some wall art on the side, maybe? Do we have any, like, donkey art? No. Do we have any... Oh, we do have a Somali wild ass. We can get a few of them in. We'll put this guy up a little bit. We'll just put him on like a little concrete block. And then we'll match the color with the mud wall. And then we should probably name this thing too. Let's go grab our Boogaloo font. We'll call this like the Riverbank Rest or something like that, maybe. A little big. Is there a smaller font? No, there's a bigger font though. That might fit. It's possible. Let's try it. R-I-V... E... It will fit. Okay. This is the Riverbank Rest. It's a little close. Might want to move these four. And then we can move you a little bit. And then we can change the font color. Also, add that to a group. It's going to save you a lot of time in the future if you ever need to touch this again. I feel like a dark gray would be good. Not really legible, though. What about like a sandy yellow? That's better. Yeah. The Riverbank Rest Stop. Good. I like that. Now, let's find the shortest length of rope that we can. 2 meters straight might be the thing. Bunting rope is cool, but it's going to be too long. I would love to use bunting rope, it's just not quite right. I think it's going to wind up being 2 meter straight rope. And I don't want it to look exactly the same as this fence. In fact, I want it to look even lighter than that. Well, maybe I have like custom, maybe I have decorative fence that I could use back here. How does African fence look? You know what? This might be a good opportunity to just use some of the in-game decorative fence. Because that looks really nice. Yeah, it's giraffe print, which is a little unfortunate, but maybe we could change it so that it doesn't quite look so much like a giraffe, which does not exist in this part of the zoo. I think that's doing something. Oh, I think this is really doing it for me. I need to get a tree in here immediately, then. Because, like, just look at how nice that's gonna look. Oh, man. Are you kidding? That's lovely. So we'll just slide a bunch of these back. I'm gonna start curving it ever so slightly. And then we're going to start curving it a lot. And then we're going to keep curving it a lot. And then back by the bathroom seems like a great place to just have a garbage can. The African bins just don't look like garbage cans to me. They look too decorative. You can also have a recycling bin over here. And then slide you over here. We'll keep this going on the other side. And then we'll just have one more here that's more decorative than anything else. Oh, I love how this looks. This looks so nice. I'd like to get a couple more rocks back in there as well, I think. Give me something relatively small that has an unusual shape. Yeah, that'll do. Stick it in there, put me on the world axis. Now that we have the shape of the bathroom outlined, we can actually continue this around to where the bathroom starts. Albeit with much smaller rocks. And then we can grab some nitraria, except we don't want any random rotation on for you. Get some dead ones in there. Get some bigger trees in there. Rotate you so that your branches aren't on top of the bathroom. I'm very quickly becoming obsessed with this little food court. I think this looks really good. I'm very pleased. This, I think we want just like a little rock perimeter that keeps people from looking too far down the river. Let's grab some nice bigger rocks for that. Turn on random rotation all again. So these are going to be one single wall of rocks. We'll just have it look a little jumbled. Get right down to guest eye level to make sure that we're doing a good job here. And then you'll just come around this corner. Give me a few smaller ones to put into the spots that we missed, like here, here, over here, and then like here, here. We don't want it to clip into the bathroom. And like here. And then we get into the nitraria. Again, avoid clipping into the bathroom. Green grass in there. And then this should not be stone. This should be like sand. Then behind this, we want to put a few more trees so that it looks like there's even more implied growth back there, because we're very close to the river now. Yeah. Yeah, man. And then this might be a good opportunity for some of the African desert theming. Let's let it roll forwards a bit here. We've been paused for a long time. Theme, Africa. We could get some bead art back here. An African building is going to be way too big. But we could get some decorative strips on the sides of some of these buildings. We could have bunting beads hanging off of this canopy. I know I said I was going to let it run for a bit and then immediately paused it. But I think I'm going to be in the bead section for a while. How well does it look like you actually attach to this? It does if you rotate it 90. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Please do not random rotate. So let's just get a ton of these guys in. It mostly looks like they're attached. You already used that one. You haven't used that one yet. Good. But then I want like a little bit of junk on the ground too. So what's some ground decor that we could have? Put a planter along the side of the bathroom. That could be nice. Ground is nice and flat there. And if you pop into gardening, you can just run some small aloe vera right down the middle. Yeah, that'll do. Maybe a big aloe vera in the middle, or a medium aloe vera. Yeah, big aloe vera is going to be too big, but medium aloe vera will work. Good. What else do we have for decoration that we can just put on the ground? A tire? Nah, I don't really think we're doing like a tire. Giraffe neck, way too big. This seems like a decent place to do a couple pots. I don't know why you'd have pots back here, but they are kind of cool. And also, I just think it's neat to use some of the theming. Like, we're never going to use this stuff in any other spot. So we might as well try and use some of it here. Who knows, man? Who knows what's going on back there? But it's intriguing. Sometimes it's just about putting some interesting stuff in places for people to look at. And then let's do a little bit more green grass. I think that is a lovely little plaza. That, I'm fine with being negative space. I'd like to find something small to put in here, though. Also, it looks like it's grass. That shouldn't be grass. Should be sand. Maybe dirt at this point. Given our proximity to the river. Do you have any really small plants that you could get in there? Ideally stuff that, like, you haven't used before. Small dragon's blood tree. Is this the place for it? You know what? This is the place for it. It doesn't really touch anyone. And I want it to look like there is a little bit of a boundary between this little courtyard and the rest of the zoo proper. So I think that helps give this back area a sense of separation. That this is like a distinct place. So I like that. Let's also, there should be, yeah, here you are. Grab one of these bad boys. That we can stick on the bathroom over here. So you're going to come to here. And then we're going to enter group edit mode. We're going to split you from your old group. And then we're going to move you. You probably should have just snapped it onto the building so that you could get it to line up exactly right, but you can do it like this too. It'll be fine. We'll just do a single sign for you. I'm not sure why those are offset, but we can use the restroom sign to mask the fact that they're offset. Okay, so everything back there is labeled now. How am I doing on time? It's been 1 hour and 44 minutes. I am a little under halfway done with what I wanted to have done. I knew this was going to take a lot longer than I thought. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is we're going to save the river. We'll do the river next time. The one thing I want to make sure I get done today is I want to do the Egyptian fruit bat exhibit. So we're going to move to that. I'm going to finish that up, and then we are going to have to take one more episode out here in the Horn of Africa. But that will give me a little extra time. I want to rework this path slightly, and I want to put in a massive research facility back here. And I may incorporate the Somali wild ass stable into it. So that will give me more time and flexibility to do that the next time we are in the Horn of Africa. So for the Egyptian fruit bat, I, for once, have a very distinct idea in my mind of how I want it to look. And it's going to look like this. We're going to take... We're going to take some kind of flat cladding. It may actually end up being you. We're going to shove it against this wall. About like this. And then again, about like this. And then again, about like this. That's about how far back we want it to go. I actually think I might want you closer to the back. You're going to do something like that. You're going to hope that this doesn't look too samey. But we'll evaluate that after. Doesn't actually look that samey at all, which is great. And then I think you're going to grab this one and go like this. Get it to join up with the cage right about here. And then you're going to move this across. Get it to join up with the cage right about here. Then you're going to have your beam painted. No longer African. Beam painted. Start here. You inside that? Yes. Good. You're going to slide back to about here. Line it up height-wise. Yeah, to right about there. So you're going to go here. And you're going to go here. Maybe in a little bit, like that. Actually back just a little bit. Like that. Back even a little bit further. Oh, you know what? It's not straight. It's not aligned. Okay, hold on. I want this to be perfectly aligned with the actual cage. That's what you were looking for. There you go. And then make sure random rotation is off. It's off. So come in like this, line this up. Stick it right there. Stick this one right here. Grab these two, move them back to about, get the height right first. Yeah, get the height right first. To about there. Pull that back to about here. Your rocks aren't... You didn't align any of this. What are you thinking? None of this... Redo all this. None of this is perfect. The idea is I want a fake terraced backdrop to the exhibit. It's not something that the bats are going to be able to use because the bats can't leave the confines of their cage. But what it means is that I can turn off this wall and I can make it look like they can get back there. So there's like a back area in their little cave where they can go and like explore and do stuff, even though they can't technically reach it. So we're going to have one part that's really short. We're going to have one part in the back that's really tall, up to about there. And then we're going to have one terrace in the middle that's a little taller. Maybe like that. Now, at no point did I rotate any of these. So when I slide them, they do. Now they stay even. A little bit of care and attention goes a long ways. And then in order to make it look like it's not just copy-pasted, we'll vary the direction that we slide them. And then if we go in here and we go to layout, no, not layout, customize. Wrong one. Wrong one. Oh, that's the front. Okay, so it's wall one. And we go to none. Now it looks like it's got this fake back. And then to make sure that they can't escape, first of all, we need to bring this up so it comes all the way up the side. So you're going to go like this, and then also like this. And then we'll also slide you over. I'd actually do like a little bit of split level height even while they're inside here, which might be cool. And then duplicate this down because there's a gap in the bottom now. Yeah, so now it looks like there's actually 4 heights, which is neat. Get me wooden beam painted. This is now going to mark out where we want the rest of the fence to go, because I'm still going to enclose the rest of this in mesh. I don't want it to look like they can fly out, even if mechanically they cannot. You slide back to here and up to here. And then you're going to slide up to here, just so it looks like there's a clean join. And then we'll move you back here as well. And then we'll grab you. Pull you along the top. Just run you all the way along here. Oh, what the hell? Did I not line that up exactly? Right. You're mad because you're in a group? You look like you're still straight. You are. Okay. We'll use you instead. This works just fine as well. There we go. There we go. And there we go. So now we need to grab our mesh. We want to use the mesh that looks the same as what's used in the actual habitat. Which is this stuff. Give it a quick spin. And then push it in a bit so that it lines up with the mesh in the cage. That's about as perfect as you're gonna get it. And then slide it down into position, right about here. So we just pull this all the way along. And then, do you want to cooperate when we try and duplicate you? You do. Praise the Lord. Swing over here. Line you up with this mesh. I think it's right about here. Yeah, it's like that, no? Yeah, I guess close enough. Then you'll come to here. Just copy and paste you down one. We'll come back over here. Copy and paste you down one. And then if you could just cooperate one more time. Thank you. Need to copy and paste you along the back. Something like that. Looks pretty good to me. And then we'll get you to line up nice here. That looks pretty good. Except you're not connected to the fence over there. That looks pretty good. And then we'll copy you down one. Here, it doesn't matter if the rotation is screwed up. We just need to move it down a little bit. And that... Oh, right, the top, I suppose, too, huh? Yeah, you probably want to mesh the top for something that can fly. Okay, well, this has been very cooperative so far, so let's keep using it. Slide you up. Rotate you 90. Get you to join here onto this piece of metal. That looks pretty close. You're going to need to move that wooden scaffold up a little bit in that case. But that's okay, we can do that. And then you just slide this all the way back. Right about there. So I can't move this whole wooden frame up, otherwise it's going to expose clipping underneath. So what I'll do instead is I'll grab these pieces, I'll duplicate them to pull them up to mask where the linkage is, and it'll just look like slightly thicker boards on the top. Then, I don't want any of this showing, so we'll just slide some of these pieces around until they cover up the wood exactly. It's fine for it to be showing up here. It's just mostly like inside the exhibit. I don't want it happening. So we'll just shift a few pieces around. The outside we'll clean up later. The back of this is probably... I think the back of this is actually going to turn into staff facilities for the arid savanna trails section. So, like... Actually, we could probably just plan that in now. What color is staff path supposed to be? I think staff path is dirt. So I think there's going to be a staff path that comes through like this. Something like that. And then we're going to have staff building here-ish. With scenery, we shouldn't have any problem with guests seeing it. And then we'll probably also have like staff building here. And staff building here. Because we're going to have exhibit here-ish. This is going to be the elephants, because they need an enormous amount of space. This will probably be rhino, because rhino also needs a ton of space. And from this point, they should be able to reach penguins. They should be able to reach everything pretty easily from that point. So I think that's going to be where staff is. And then we can have this naturally feed back into the staff building. We can have it join in a way that looks fairly natural. And that will be quite nice. Now, for the rest of this, we are going to mask these terraces with mulch, just like we do when we're making other exhibits. Mulch me, please. We're going to have it be flat mulch. So we're going to rotate you 180 to get the bottom half, which is much flatter. You're going to sit just underneath where the rock is. And off you go. You rotate 180. Because this is going to be one of the divisions of the terrace. And then you come through here. Once you get to the other side, you're going to get raised up. Not sure why that isn't really lining up, but it's okay. It doesn't need to. We can just slide it forward. And then you're also going to come... We're going to need like a 1x4 strip for that. That's way too narrow. Duplicate you. But you're going to be this instead. You could get away with 2x4 there, actually. You get raised up so that you're just below the rock. And then we need a very small rock for this part of the terrace. What's like the smallest cladding that I have available? A 2x2 cladding? Is that going to be small enough? Oh yeah, it'll be fine. So you come into here. You get raised up to about that height. And then this mulch gets duplicated. Gets raised up to about that height. Gets shoved back a little bit. Gets rotated ever so slightly because it's trying to poke through. And this is going to look hideous in the back, right? There's going to be mulch poking out of the back. Like this. Ugly, I know, but we're going to fix that later. Now, on the inside of this, we can do plants. And also, we are very close to a river at this point. If we look at an Egyptian fruit bat's range, right? Natural habitat, it's actually spending most of its time around like river deltas. This section of Africa and this section of Africa are, I think, closer to tropical than they are to arid or grassland. Like if we look at tropical Africa and we look at something like a Goliath frog or a mandrill or a Nile monitor or kind of a pygmy hippo, red river hog for sure. These are actually tropical areas of Africa. So just for this habitat, we are going to use some fun tropical garden plants in the background here. And some fun other tropical plants. So look how price ascending. Throughout all of this, I think I'm just going to cover the ground in leaf litter. And then we're just going to get some funky stuff in here. Let's start with small plants up at the front. We can definitely have some stuff like elephant ear that hangs over these terraces. Something like that. And then maybe like a small one down here. Yeah, this is exactly what I was imagining. How well could we do vine curtains? I think vine curtains would look a little weird. Liana vines themselves probably still look a little weird. So let's just stick to flowers. We could have a couple of banana palms in here. Also, let's turn random rotation on if we're going to be doing plants. We can get some ferns in here. Water hyacinth, probably not quite right. But Leia looks fun. flowering buddleia? Yeah, yeah. It's very leafy, and I like that. Get some of you guys in here. We can have some basket ferns hanging off the front for sure. I think that's very appropriate. Maybe some real big guys, too. What else we got in here for tropical plants? So given that they're fruit bats, I think it probably makes sense to have a bit of like tomatoes back here. Gives them some enrichment. You can come back here and they can go foraging. I mean, they can't, mechanically, but we can make it look like they can. Maybe a little bit of maize as well. It's like stuff for him to nosh on. Couple lobster claws in here. I didn't necessarily want to place that. I wanted to see what they looked like first. Not sold on it. Some plumeria in here, though, definitely. Basically, I don't want you to see mulch back here, even if you're looking at it top-down. I want it to be an absolute carpet of plants. Water hyacinth is not quite going to be right. Swiss cheese plant, definitely. We can get some of these guys in. It's exactly how I envisioned it in my mind, and I love it. No. And then we'll get some stuff down here on the ground, too. It's like places for them to hang out and explore a bit. Then, everywhere that's still empty, well, what's gardening like? We already saw it, okay. Everywhere that we don't currently have a plant is going to be medium buffalo grass. So all through here, we're going to have it be nice and grassy. We'll leave a couple spots that are empty so you can see like the leaf litter. But anywhere where there's mulch exposed is getting green buffalo grassed. Yes, technically not a tropical grass, but I just want it to feel lush and verdant in here and have it be something that isn't like anything else in the zoo. This is a really unique place. Because Egyptian fruit bats aren't, like, really an arid animal. They're a Nile River Delta animal. And if I felt like I had the space, I might try and fit, like, a Nile monitor kind of deal in here as well. and then through here. We're going to have it look a little more sparse, because this is now down at, like, ground level. But we're going to get some grass through here, too. Maybe up front as well. Buffalo grass or dry medium. So we'll put a few medium spots in here. And then we'll connect them with large normal green. So it's not going to look as green as it does in the back, because we're getting closer to the other deserty parts of the zoo. But it's still going to have this feel of, like, this is a very distinct place. It's a place that you want to come in and explore a little bit. So you can't really see it through the mesh, but if we go ahead and say wall 2, none, you can see that it really, I wanted it to look artificially natural in here. And I think we've achieved that. I think the fact that it's very terraced and that these are very, like, rigorous shapes. This is obviously not natural rock. This is faux rock that we've put in. I think does a pretty good job of achieving that. I think, anyway. Hey, let me know your thoughts on this one, because it's definitely different to anything else that we really have in the zoo. But I think I like it. I think I like how it's looking, and we can definitely dress up the front of this. It's going to be a natural spot for some curb work. And I might, just because I know it's going to be small, I might do a little bit of curb. It's not going to be that bad. Alright, definitely don't random rotate me. It's a prime opportunity to just let the zoo run for a bit. When we hit the end of July, we'll do a quick animal wellness check. We'll see how everybody's doing. There was a significant amount of breeding that happened earlier this year, so we want to make sure that none of our exhibits are at risk of overcrowding or inbreeding or any other kind of issues like that. Speak of the devil. Research is done. Let me just get around this corner, and then we'll go and check our research. We'll go and do our zoo wellness check here in the middle of the year. What you got for me? Hamadryas baboon is done. What did you get? You got a toy enrichment. Is that true, or is it just somebody else's toy that you are now allowed to use? You, Danya, tell me. It is... Oh, it is something new. It's a Mirrormobile. Yeah, if you guys can make it up here, you can come and play with the Mirrormobile. Alright, so that is Hamadryas baboons done. Rebecca, start working on the foxes. American Standard Donkey very close to being done, and then we're going to start working through our illnesses, because that will be all of the animals so far. They're going to get about a year of being able to work on illnesses before we open up the dry savanna trails, and then they're going to have 1 million more animals to research. But we're going to have a very brief period where they can get some work done on diseases. Now, let's take a look at how the zoo is doing. This is necessary at this point because of just how big it is. So Mahir is doing great. Both of the Adaxes are pregnant. I'm actually going to stick Mahir on contraceptives because that will be a good litter of Adaxes for us to take care of for a little bit. But you guys all look like you're doing fine. You're still good ages. Your welfare's great. African spurred tortoises you never need to touch until these guys mature. And they mature very slowly. American standard donkeys live for... How long do you live for? Life expectancy, 35 years. So you are still like less than halfway through your life. We don't need to turn breeding back on in there yet. You're okay. Caracals, we have 2 baby caracals in here that are slowly maturing. You guys going for an explorer following after your mom. Dromedary camels also, I think, live for a very long time. No wall, we can... Actually, a lot of these we could donate. So we have a male from Empirical Sahara. We have a female from Empirical Sahara. What is your mating structure like? Legionus. Dominant male leading harem of females. I think we're going to get rid of a lot of camels. I think we're getting rid of... Well, who's got better genetics between Jamal and Zishan? Immunity 100. Jamal has the better genetics. Okay. We are going to get rid of all of you. Noel's too old? Yeah, Noel's too old. Alright, we sell you. Noel, we rehome. Because you're old. And then we go into animal trading. We look for dromedary camel. And I want to buy 3 female camels. Grab you. Grab you. Grab you. Put that into animal storage. You 3 are getting sent to quarantine. Which is here. And then we'll stick you in the dromedary camel habitat before we end. But that'll give Jamal something to do. Egyptian fruit bats should have population control, I believe. Let's double check. Management. Yes, manage population. Processing, you can just sell for cash. Sell oldest first. Sell for cash. Oldest first. Sure. So they'll take care of themselves. Fennec foxes. We have an alpha male and female. We have 1 litter that's already come in. We should be able to get 1 more litter out of them. Hamadryas baboons are doing fine. God, they breed fast. I don't think we need that many female Hamadryas baboons. I think we take like 5 of you. And we quick trade you out of here. And then we take Zubair off contraceptives for a year. And then we let him run it again. And then when he gets too old, we move Rafik in. And we keep all of the Empirical Sahara females in the exhibit. And then that'll be our second generation. Red foxes doing fine. How long do they live for? 12 years. So Alexandra here is getting pretty old. And you're the alpha. I need to get rid of you and get a new female red fox who is from Frontier Zoo. So that either Anthony or Sean can become the new alpha. Red fox. No, reset filters. There you go. Red fox. Female red fox. Ooh. Part melanistic. Dude, we could get some crazy red foxes going in there. That's very interesting. But then also, I think you're also part melanistic. You are, yeah. I'm just going to take you. We'll have you come in, send a zoo. You can go to quarantine. Because we have... He's not... What are you, Anthony? You're piebald, right? I think Anthony's piebald. What's your deal? Yeah, so we're going to have a piebald male and we're going to have a melanistic female. Or a crossed melanistic female. Maybe we'll get some real funky color combinations out of them. Either way, at the end of the year, we're going to get rid of Alexandre. We'll appoint a new alpha male. And then should probably also get rid of Matilda at the same time. But that'll be the red foxes. Scarab beetles, they're fine. They manage themselves. Sandcats. We had a big sandcat litter. We had a huge sandcat litter. What is going on in here? Okay, so this is the male. This is the female. Afrin, why are you sad? What happened? Stressed? Yeah, just go. You can hide somewhere. It'll be okay. You have plenty of room in your exhibit. So the sandcats are doing great. We'll need to get rid of them when they get older. Scimitar horned oryxes. Everybody's pregnant? Okay. Let's go ahead and get you on contraceptives. Because so you are doing too good of a job. Somali wild asses. They should live forever. These guys are doing fine. Everybody's on contraceptives. And striped hyenas. 3 old striped hyenas. Alright, the 3 of you need to go. We'll rehome you. We definitely need to repopulate the striped hyenas. I think you got rid of their mom. Yeah, okay. So Shabir, you can go. Zishan, you can get rehomed. You need an adult female striped hyena and maybe a second male. Striped hyena. Let's get Tasneem. Omira's younger. Get Omira and Bakir. Send them to the zoo. They are going to be the responsibility of the Horn of Africa section. There you go. Okay, good. Let's run this down until the end of the year then. And then at the end of the year, we'll move some animals around. The here's about to mate. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You guys need to be on contraceptives. Wait, Zahir's about to mate? He's juvenile. You can't do that. Alright, get all the males on contraceptives then. What is sexual maturity for a sandcat? Wow, okay. Sexual maturity is a year, even though he's still a juvenile. Good to know. Keep him on contraceptives. Zishan's been traded. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Many animals have been traded. You know what else I'm noticing? Is that our money hasn't really gone up this year. I think we finally may have spent enough on staff promotions that we aren't making ridiculous money hand over fist anymore. So that's kind of nice. Zehir's about to mature. Alright, we're going to have to deal with the sandcats very soon then, because as soon as those sandcats mature, everybody in that habitat's going to get extremely grumpy. Like, super grumpy. Vet research is done. Show me. Alright, sandcats matured. We have to go and deal with that right now. Egyptian fruit bat 1. It's an exhibit. I know how those work. Zoo, animals, sandcats. How do you want to handle this one? I think Masood has to go. And I think he has to get rehomed because he's old. Sure. And then all of the other ones are from Empirical Sahara. So you... How do you want to handle this? I think you want to go like this. Move these 3 to the trade center and figure out what to do with them later. And then get a new male sandcat. A nice cheap one. It's horrible genetics. Pretty good genetics. And then what's the difference in price for you? Sandy fur with dark tabby markings, golden fur with dark tabby markings. It's mostly just cosmetic. I'll spend a couple leaf bucks on somebody else's sandcat, man. I don't care. Sure. We'll grab this one from Harpoon Zoo. Stick you in quarantine. And then we'll have you be the new alpha sandcat owner. Right, so that's one more problem dealt with. There really is just no way of getting around zoo management at this point. It used to be the thing that we could just knock out quickly in a couple minutes, but at this stage, with this size of the zoo, we're just gonna have to spend like 10 minutes on it every day. Every episode. You know what I mean. It's just a big place. How do you want to get that to line up? Maybe like this. And then like this. Excuse me, I can't see. Thank you. So run you up to here. And then over here. Run you a little bit like this. And then out like this. We should be attempting at some point here to farm up some leaf bugs, because if I remember correctly, African elephants are extremely expensive, no matter how you get them. And we are going to need some. African savanna elephant. Hey, there's a couple decently cheap ones right now, but like 700, we can't buy many of those before we get cleaned out. So we may actually want to keep an eye on the trade market to see if we can catch an elephant coming by when it's cheap. Is there a non-grid log wall? There is. I want something that is a little decorative around the base of this as well. Align to surface. So that it's not just like, you know, mesh that joins the ground. So I think a little log wall like this might actually look quite nice. Let's keep the time moving here so we can get back to daytime when it's bright out. That research is done. I'll be with you shortly. I just want to finish this up quick. Lovely. I really like how that looks. Let's go do the other side as well. As long as we're here. Get you to join up all nice. Get you to join up all nice. Kind of. That'll do. There you go. Also, you unlocked enrichment for these guys, I believe. Yeah, nectar feeder, bat box, water dish. Put it all in. Make them happy. What did you get for vet research? 2. You've finished your American Standard donkey. You got, in theory, toy enrichment and food enrichment out of that. I'd be real surprised. But let's go ask and see how you're doing. Yeah, nothing new here. So whatever we unlocked, it was for other animals that we already got. However, that does mean that we can now proceed in just knocking out disease research, which is good. And then for you, I want to do... Slog is a little big. Where is your... This is a chance for Africa theming. Where's the... Yeah, your branches. I want to just have some branches sticking out of the ground. Random rotation. We can also switch up the type of branch that it is. So it gives the look of like some dead trees. Or some stumps that maybe got cut down. I think there's some visual intrigue to that. There used to be some kind of thicket here or something. And if we head into nature, we go back to desert Africa. What's a nice short plant that we could put in front of this? Maybe like some coconut palms. It's tropical-ish out here. I think we can get away with it. Do like 1, 2, 3, 4. At the corners. Couple big king proteas. Did you put them in the... Kind of, yeah, you did. Something like that. And then flanking that. decent sized nitraria bushes. And then because you kind of just have to put one in, where's the Jeep? African off-road vehicle. You can't have an Africa section without having one off-road vehicle somewhere. And this seems like an okay spot for it. I don't think we want to do abstract giraffe necks, elephants, gorillas, anything like that at this point. So I think for the rest of this, we're just going to keep doing some nitraria. And I'm avoiding the temptation to put a few big trees in here, because I want you to be able to see through into the bats. I don't want to block the line of sight off here. I want it to be something that's attention grabbing. We'll double check this shortly, but I think when you're coming up the path from the Caracal Ravine, you should have a really nice sight line into this section of the zoo. And I'm excited to check on it. So we'll do like a little bit of century plants around here. Get my drin grass out. Use the drin grass to fill in some of these awkward little corners. Toss in a little bit like this. Something like that. So, here you are, zoo guest at the Caracal Ravine. Wow, caracals. Very nice. You gotta get lights in here at some point. Stop here, you check out the little enrichment things we put down for people. You're like, ooh, the oasis looks nice. And then you come around this corner. You have a peek into the foxes. And then you've got this bat cage that just opens up to you. I really like it. I think that's exactly how I wanted this to turn. I am at 2 hours and 43 minutes. We're at October 24. I'm going to try and finish this corner. And I'm going to detail that. And then that's about all the time that I gave myself to record Planet Zoo today, unfortunately. So we are definitely going to have to come back and do detailing and building of Horn of Africa round 2. There is still so much that we did not get to. We did not get to any of the African River Delta theming. We did not get to putting in the bathrooms at the River Oasis. We did not get to the detailing around Caracal Ravine. We didn't do the building at Caracal Ravine. There is so much to do here still. My only solace is that I knew that it was going to be ambitious to do this in one episode before I started, so I am not surprised in the least that it is going to take us to. Hopefully you at home are a fan of detailing, because there is just a lot to do around here. Up here, build our little bespoke curbs. We've earned a gift from something. Pull this curve out to like here-ish. It's a bit of a messy join, but we'll live. Get you to join in like that. Vet research is done. I don't even know what vet research is left. The red fox. You actually don't have any of the enrichment for the red fox researched yet, so it's kind of a big deal to be finishing some of that stuff up. Stop angle snapping me. Right, we got a prize. Red habitat species. I'm so excited that we're finally managing to spend all of our money. We're almost at break even, in fact. We'll take a look at our balance sheet here as we get closer to December. You have gotten toy enrichment. What you got? Nothing new. Good. But that, like, also the research does stuff like it improves our education rating for them and a couple other nice things. So just because we don't get the extra toys and the extra enrichment items, it's still a net benefit for the zoo to get that stuff done. Come through here, rotate here. Maybe a smooth join right about there. And then come back through here. I'm seeing a lot of Hamadryas baboon mating going on. Might be worth checking in on them. Otherwise, that's going to become a very large exhibit again. And there we go. Okay. So, here we are in December. Let's go take care of our last couple animal tasks that we had left. We need to figure out what's going on with our quarantines. We have our camels. The three of you are headed over here to Dromedary Camel. Masood, you are headed over here to the Sandcats. Over here, we have our two hyenas. You are moving over here. And then we have our one red fox. You are moving over here. And as that red fox moves in, we also need to take out the old red fox. Animal escaped, excuse me? Really? Oh yeah, you're gone. How did that happen? I'm glad that nobody over here seems to be worried, but how did you get out? Where's the Sandcat that I can click on? You're in quarantine, Trade Center, Trade Center. You're the only Sandcat that I can examine for this problem right now. So I guess we'll have to look at Masood. Well, you're in here, fix the red fox issue. It is Alexandre that needs to go, and then it's also probably Matilda that needs to go. Quick trade you. And release to wild you. So that's your foxes fixed up. Oh, you know what? They did run. Yep, there they go. This section of the zoo is eerily quiet now. Just come and put the new Sandcat in so I can figure out what happened, please. Here it is. Alright, you. Masood, show me how they did it. They didn't, man. How did you get out? How did you do that? Huh. It might be a juvenile thing. There might be a gap that juveniles can fit through that adults can't. That's my best guess currently. Did I have to put anybody else in there with you? No. It's just going to be Masood, and then it's going to be the other one that escaped. As soon as somebody comes and puts you back in. Taiba. Okay, so that Sandcat's taken care of. You did dromedary camels. Double check your Hamadryas baboons to make sure that they're not overpopulating like crazy. 2 pregnant. Let's go ahead and stick you back on contraceptives for a little while. And then I think you're good. Let's finish this little square off. This is another opportunity to use some bead shapes at each corner. I think that'll look kind of nice. Theme, Africa. They're a little small. I'd ideally like some larger. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. But like 3 bead shapes at each of these corners. I'd like one huge tree to sit in the middle of this. Sudanese frankincense tree is big enough. Put some big nitraria in just for ground cover. And then put some bryn grass in. Maybe a few more bead shapes in here too. Bracelet shape? No. Column? No. Middle? No. Maybe some pots. You just want some things at each of these corners that make it look a little interesting to be over here. I think that does a pretty good job of it. Maybe some dry dryn gas over towards this side. Yeah. So there you go. The curbs take work. They do take a lot of very fiddly placement, but I think it's worth it once you actually get them down. It just helps everything look a little more defined. And after we finish it up in this section too, I think we're really going to start to see some payoffs in this section of the zoo. You are going to step through this point and you're going to feel like you're entering a totally different section of the zoo, which I really like. The sight lines from back here are going to be kind of bad. Again, we're going to clean that wall up. We're going to clean that wall up so it doesn't look quite so samey. That also looks like it needs a little bit of work, but it's not as impressive when you step out into this plaza because there's a big mesh fence in the way. But from about here, I mean, tell me that's not a place that you wouldn't want to go and visit. Anyway, let's take a look at budget before we finish winding down here. Our most appealing habitat species right now is our caracal. Average animal welfare is 98%. Staff happiness 100%. Our budget, we did only make $17,000 last. Well, we made $27,000 this year. But we haven't really moved the needle on where our finances were because we've spent a bunch of it. So I want to be a little careful with staff promotions here. Like, I don't think I can afford to take all of the keepers to level 4, for example. I don't think I can afford to take the educators to 5. I could maybe bump the mechanics to 3. Could also probably bump security guards to 3. And could also probably bump caretakers to 3. Caretakers are pretty cheap. But we want to be a little discerning with how much money we spend here. Because I think our budget is starting to stabilize. Let's also get all of the vendors on equal footing here. So we don't have some split at 2 and some split at 3. There we go. So that's going to do it. We are done with this section of the Horn of Africa. I really like how this section came out. Took a little while to do. And then we're also done with the Egyptian freak bats. So next time, we're going to focus on this river, and we're going to focus on a little bit of detailing in here. build this out into an actual structure, add some restrooms here, and then we're going to be ready to move on to the dry savanna trails. Or possibly the penguins. The poll on the channel is still up, and currently both of them are tied, which is nice for me because that means I get to pick who the winner is. But if you want to have some input over which section of the zoo we work on next, you can go and vote in that community poll. Leave me a note in the comments if you are enjoying the series and if you'd like to see me work on anything differently in these sections. And if you want to keep up with the next episode, make sure that you like the video and you subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications for when these videos come out. Till then, I've been Chef. I'll see you next time for the last visit in the Horn of Africa, and then we will move on to something new. I'm looking forward to it, and I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your day.